Welcome, Scott.
Welcome, Greg. The world, she is a changing, and it's becoming very, very obvious. And the people on the left do not like it.
As the world turns,
I guess
General Hospital, one
I
life
guess
to
when they
live.
start, getting a dose of a tiny fractional dose of what they've been dishing out by the bucket load for the last 12 years, they just don't know how to act.
Yeah, first of all, welcome everybody to the Political Matrix News. It is a wonderful, wonderful September 18th. Beautiful fall day over here in Florida, mid 80s.
I know, right?
And I think Jimmy Kimmel will probably be hanging out here a lot more.
Yeah, well, he's going to have find something to do with his days.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't give a crap about. Actually, he loved the whole idea of Tucker Carlson being fired,
Yeah,
or Roseanne being fired, and this and that, and the cancel culture of the left is now come full circle, baby.
Yeah, he definitely he definitely was I just remember him celebrating all these things. That's something that kills me. You got all these leftists out here celebrating, literally dancing on the grave of Charlie Kirk.
I know.
And they're telling us that we need to dial it down.
Yeah. First, a little lesson of government, Public Affairs 101 to these guys, or a little civics lesson. The First Amendment, it talks about the freedom of speech is for the government not to suck for freedom of speech. Doesn't say anything about a private corporation that you're working for.
No,
you can run your mouth, but there's consequences.
There are consequences, and the problem is what they're talking. It's always there's just enough truth in what they say to make it seem like the whole thing is truth, and what they say is true under certain circumstances. Like if the government was simply going after Jimmy Kimmel. That's funny. Jimmy Kimmel. Because because they didn't like what he was saying, it'd be one thing. The problem is that the FCC licenses the airwaves, and part of the condition of that is that they're supposed to, do programming that is in the interest of the public.
Community standards.
Demonizing American citizens and dancing on their graves is not exactly what you'd call the public interest.
Now, if you were on the Man Show like he was on Comedy Central and cable, that might have been different. He's on the public airwaves of a publicly traded and publicly viewed station with ABC. And so, he doesn't get to get away with people like us on podcasts or people on cable or people on Sirius radio or any kind of private thing like that. You have a lot of people that you're beholden to here. And the rules are different. That's just the way it is. Yeah,
they're going to have to go to a streaming platform now and earn their money. He's going to have to go back and start to be funny again because
like he used to be.
I watched the entire segment of what he did, and the entire thing was it wasn't comedy. It was just politics. It was political posturing.
It's like whenever
shots.
Exactly. Some guy I heard on Sean Hannity today, he was talking about whenever these late night shows used to be all about late night comedy, like Jay Leno and Johnny Carson, and in fact we'll play a clip of Johnny Carson that we found back in the 80s, and they're asking him about political stuff, and he was basically saying in the clip that you're about to see that you're not supposed to be the commentator, you're supposed to be the entertainment.
Tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Well, you and I have been saying this since 2016 at least. The Democratic Party is going to implode. They're very much imploding. And guys like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert are leading the pack. They're leading the way for it to happen.
And there's a lot of left-wing podcasters who actually are very empathetic and sympathetic, and they are not dancing on the graves. I'm very very happy about them. I mean, they're actually angry. The podcasters, which I think is ironic because they're not really holding to any kind of rules or anything, but they actually have more class and more decorum than these big Hollywood people here who think they can get away with anything. I mean, I guess podcasters like us, we all know that you have to work for your ratings, you have to work for your followership and everything else. You can't just dance on graves and expect to get a lot of following for that because most of the people are not for that.
But I'm going to tell you the reason that we have this situation is because podcasters are hyper aware and concerned about losing their audience by either saying the wrong thing or getting suppressed by the platform. So we kind of watch our language sometimes. We don't too much, but I mean a lot of them do. And versus knowing that we could do something, we could say the wrong thing at any time and just have our entire platform cut right out from under us.
Right.
Because it happened to the president of the United States. So yeah, it can happen anytime. But the Democrats have never had to worry about that, and certainly the guys in the late night comedy, they don't. I mean, the standards and practices. The standards and practices are, how much can you say about these evil Trumpian people?
Exactly. I mean, it used to be about comedy and laughter and entertainment. That was it. I mean, right now, I mean, if they want to be political commentators, they can have their own. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel can have his own little podcast, his own little show. So can Stephen Colbert. All those guys can go off and do their own thing where
You
they
mean
don't have
like
to
Adam
worry
Carolla?
about like what?
Like Adam Carolla?
Well, yeah, which was actually partners with Jimmy Kimmel on The Man Show.
He sure
People don't
did.
realize, I mean, The Man Show was a very popular show.
Yeah.
I think it was Comedy Central back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And granted, it was kind of a very sexist show, it was a misogynistic show, but I mean, that's why they called it The Man Show. I mean, they had girls in jello fights and people balancing on trampolines and weird skimpy outfits and stuff like that. And I mean, men like that. Women didn't, of course, but Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla were the two of the guys who were running the whole thing. And Adam understood that, you work with, what we are given and you don't take advantage of it and you don't abuse it. And Jimmy Kimmel took it and abused it totally.
Well, what Jimmy Kimmel did was just start, because the studio audience would come in there and pat him on the back for doing these things.
Exactly.
Then he thought that America was doing that, and I hate to tell you, America doesn't think like that tiny little slice of people that you have there.
Yeah,
They
his
just don't.
ratings were dropping.
Well, his ratings were
Badly.
that. What are the
I
ratings
think he had like a 1 share.
of let's see, Jimmy Kimmel. Let's see. About 1 million, 2 million, between 1.5 and 2 million people.
What were the
It's a
ratings of Johnny Carson?
share of 0.35.
Wow. What was Johnny Carson's ratings at the end of his reign?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, our country, we have as many illegals back then. Yeah, like 100 million fewer people.
Right.
Only like 250 million back then. Now we're like 340 million.
No, I remember in the 80s, I think we were well within 200 million, just like the low 200s.
Right, low 200s, okay.
At his peak, oh my God. Oh my God. At his peak, Johnny Carson had 9 million viewers.
So 9 times the size of Jimmy Kimmel's audience currently, or former audience.
Right. Which honestly makes the greatest beneficiary of him being taken off the air the shareholders in Disney.
Exactly. And
because he was losing money hand over fist. That show cost $100 million a year to produce, and Jimmy Kimmel himself was $10 million of that. So like, and frankly, as you were kind of starting to lead in there, you're talking about how about this wasn't a decision by the president. This wasn't a decision by the FCC. This was a decision prompted by Sinclair Broadcasting and Next Era, because those are the two by far largest affiliates for ABC, and they said they had Sinclair said that they were going to replace his time slot with a what do you call it, a retrospective on Charlie Kirk.
Exactly. And for people who, I know we kind of jumped to this whole thing here like midstream. So for people who don't know, we're going to show a clip here real quick of what Jimmy Kimmel said that got him canned. So take a look at this real quick and, and drop us a comment and see what you think. And that's the reason why. I mean, he's literally making fun of the president, how he grieves. He's making fun of the entire MAGA movement. And he's just basically, he said, oh, people took it out of context. But he never apologized. There was no context.
Yeah,
He's
if it was
basically
really
comparing
taken
the
out,
killer to a MAGA guy.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
if we took it out of context, what was the context?
Exactly. What was it? What was it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Tell us the context, please. I mean, I know he didn't want to explain himself because I think they gave him 2 days to explain himself, and he said no. So, I mean, obviously, he had greener pasture somewhere for Kimmel and all his very small fan base, I'm sure. I mean, he can.
What I want people to notice right now, the difference between what you and I are doing and what all the people on the left are doing. We are talking about the things that they're doing. We're criticizing him for specific things he said, that we're identifying the specific things he said. What he does and what all of the left do is say he is call people names, call them racist or whatever, any sort of pejorative name that they can come up with, and then and just agree by acclamation that that this person is one of these things, so they are deserving of our contempt and hate.
Even Stephen Colbert, who already knows that his time is numbered, actually did a very sincere, grief, everything else. And to the family, and basically said all this political violence has got to stop. I mean, he was actually honest about it, and he wasn't like blaming anybody. He wasn't dancing in any grave at all, and I was very happy about that.
See, when I see it from
Shocked.
people that surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, he also knows his days are numbered, and he probably didn't want it to be accelerated.
Oh
either.
yeah. I will guarantee you, if he'd have come out, and I'm sure he knows this, if he'd have come out, dancing on these people's graves, then he might not have made it through the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, they actually yanked Jimmy Kimmel the day after he did this. I'm sure all the people who are watching this were like, "What the hell is he doing? What the hell?" I mean, the whole concept here is that people are now. For those who don't know, Tyler Robinson was a killer, or the alleged killer here. But ABC News is out there romanticizing his text messages to his roommate, and nobody wants to call him his lover. Although they were lovers. They don't want to draw the attention to that his roommate was his gay lover who was transitioning. Nobody in the media is talking about that. They're all talking about his text messages to his roommate. No, they're text messages to his roommate who he's in love with, who they're planning on living a lifelong relationship with. And they kept saying that he wanted to protect his lover or protect his roommate when that was nothing said in the text messages. There's nothing in the text message about protecting anybody. He was pissed off because he did not agree with Charlie Kirk. Period.
No, but you know what was in those text messages? The words "my love." When he's referring to his roommate, he's referring to his roommate as "my love." If you're referring to your roommate as "my love," they're no longer your roommate.
Exactly. It's your love partner or your significant other or, whatever you want to call it, your domestic partner. Or your life. I mean, the whole point here is that the media is not talking about that. But what they do talk about is that he had this here, like a Romeo and Juliet kind of a relationship because he is fighting for the protection.
Lovers.
I mean, he is fighting for the protection of the entire community. And so he's willing to be a martyr. Actually, the whole idea, the whole concept here is that he was so terrified of it coming back to hit him. That's the reason why he turned himself in, because he didn't want the police to shoot him or to raid him or swat him. So he turned himself in so that way he could feel safe. I mean, which I got, give a little bit of credit. Most of these killers out here have been like suicide killers, so they all want to kill themselves at the same time as they're killing everybody else in their mass shootings. But this was not a mass shooting. Although it happened right after the time Charlie Kirk was asked about mass shootings by transsexual people. And I think you had mentioned before that they were looking at airplanes that were taking off and leaving the local area. I mean, I'm sure that, with how much security Charlie Kirk has, this has got to be a lot more organized than just some random kid, 22-year-old pissed off kid walking out there and taking a pop shot and shooting him right almost perfectly. I mean, this is going to be most likely when they dig into it, probably going to be a lot more organized and orchestrated than what they're talking about. Because if that kind of security, that tight security, is able to allow that to happen, then there's something going on here. It's almost similar to like whenever they were celebrating. Actually, Biden was basically elated whenever they shot at Trump. Back in Butler, Pennsylvania, and
I remember a lot of
we did a
Democrats
show
that were
about
pretty
that.
happy about it too.
Yeah, I mean, people are celebrating it. I mean, people, they keep on talking about the hypocrisy here and hypocrisy here and hypocrisy here. They're the ones who are celebrating the violence, okay? They're the ones who want to keep on hurting us, or hurting Republicans, or hurting conservatives. We never, ever want to hurt them. We never talk about violence toward anybody. We do talk about enforcing the Constitution. We talk about protecting babies. The only people we really want to kill are murderers, and the death penalty for them is fine, in my opinion. If they kill people, it's good. But everything else, we love people. We are a loving group.
No, I think it's funny that dang, I don't know what's wrong with Twitter. Every time I turn around, I try to get on there and they have some weird
It's been
issue.
down a lot lately.
Yeah.
Their server's been going down. Elon needs to work on that.
For real.
I mean, it took me about 3 hours to get on Twitter a couple of days ago. Just getting server not available. Server. I thought I was out of internet, but every other social media thing worked except Twitter. So,
well, that sucks because I'm trying to look up a post that I had listed a bunch of information on.
yeah,
These people are exhausting.
It is. I mean, and people, and it's weird because this happen every day. Okay, and people die every day. People get shot every day, and for this to be so emotional for the right and the left is only because they're trying to make it so emotional for the right. I mean, they're using him the left is using him as a martyr of, basically, it's their way. It's almost like a civil rights issue. It's like, they're trying to save this evil omen, and nobody listened to him. Nobody heard what he said.
Well, the left is convinced that that Trump, the moment that Trump won the election was when was when that shot happened, and there may be something to that, but I don't. But the fact is that he was facing a really crappy opponent. Is largely why he won.
Right.
But the thing is that we're talking about all this political violence. There's a lot of violence name me a Republican shooter.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I don't really know who you're talking about. The Democrat Congress people in Minnesota that got killed, or lawmakers up there. I don't know if they were killed by a right winger. I think they might have just been by a crazy person.
Well, let's give them that one. Okay? Just for the sake of argument, let's give them that one.
Let's give them that one.
Let's say there was a crazy Republican out there that decided to. But the thing is he knew those people.
Hey, that's actually true.
Yeah, I mean, these weren't strangers that he went over and killed for a political reason. He knew these people.
So what about January 6th? January 6th was a protest, but who got killed in January 6th? The Republican people.
One of the protesters.
Killed. And all the cops everybody keeps saying got killed were that's just
Ashley Babbitt got killed. Ashley Babbitt is the only person who died as a result of that event.
Right. Now a few cops had a heart attack. One cop died, but
he had a stroke. That wasn't for a couple of days after the thing.
Exactly.
And he already had a pre-existing health condition.
Yeah.
But you got Charlie Kirk, you got Stephen Scalise in 2017, you got Donald Trump in 2024. Brett Kavanaugh had a guy with a gun coming to get him if his security hadn't intercepted him. He was going to shoot him.
Paul Pelosi was not attacked. Well, Pelosi was not attacked by a right winger.
No, he was attacked by a crazy person that he invited to his house.
Exactly. Somebody he invited to his house attacked him.
Yeah, that is not right wing. That's not political violence. Although it's funny when you ask ChatGPT about political violence, it comes up with these things that I'm listing, like Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who were when they were when the Black Lives Matter events was going on in St. Louis, they held a gun out on their
remember that the
out
family,
on their porch, and
the
they got in
husband and
trouble
wife.
for that just because they were trying to keep people off their property. And then there's Aaron Danielson, Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro, Ann Coulter. All of these people have been the victims of some sort of political violence. Ben Shapiro, Milo, Ben, and Ann all had events canceled because of riotous mobs. All right. I mean, and frankly, if any of those three had gotten out with those mobs, God knows what would have happened to them.
And then you want to talk about censorship. I mean, let's talk about Rush Limbaugh. How many times they tried to get Rush Limbaugh off the air, and Alan Keyes off the air, and David Horowitz off the air, and Michael Savage off the air, and people were boycotting all the stations and boycotting the advertising. The left has been doing that for over 40 years of the last 40 years of talk radio, which is the predecessor of all the podcasts that we have now. I mean, they have been going after any kind of right-wing verbiage. We had Luke McCoy in Pensacola. They were always going after him like crazy. And I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this whole hypocrisy here. Roseanne Barr just made a stupid tweet, and they kicked her off, of her own show that was named after her. I mean, and she had more followers and more ratings than Jimmy Kimmel ever did. I mean, actually, let's chat GPT about Roseanne's last ratings. Let me look that up. I mean, compared to Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, come on. She was making this station millions of dollars.
Sure, yeah, no, there's no doubt Roseanne was making a ton of money. I mean, because she always is. She was a known product, which is why she was able to do her show.
Yeah, I mean, like Roseanne or not, I mean, I was a big Roseanne fan, so I mean, I'm a little biased here. I mean, I liked it whenever she was liberal and conservative and moderate and all the different political transformations of Roseanne. And I mean, it's just so hypocritical. I mean, now that you see Charlie Sheen coming out on Megyn Kelly's show, all the left is attacking Charlie Sheen for like, oh my God, you're on Megyn Kelly's show. What the hell? He's like, hey, where the ratings are.
Okay, so when Roseanne's revival premiered to 18.4 million viewers.
18.4.
Right.
And
when
Jimmy Kimmel
when they
has
fired
one.
her, when they fired her and turned it into the Connors, it went down to 10.4.
Right. And so they lost 8 million people, and Jimmy Kimmel can't even get over 1 million.
Exactly. They kept the Connors on the air when even though they lost 8 million viewers, because that was enough to make money. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't make as many. I don't know if he has as many in a month as they have in a day.
Exactly, and that's kind of the point here. Is I mean, as far as the economic strategy here for ABC and Nexstar and Sinclair, I mean, Sinclair is actually really wanting him to do a forceful apology and everything. Sinclair is being very, again, Sinclair is more right-leaning than the rest of the media outlets there are, and so they have, their own little programs that are much more conservative in that manner. But I mean, they think what he did was outrageous, and they're not very forgiving of it. And
decent people think that. What's funny is just how long that they've been trying to do this.
Yeah, people say they've been trying to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel for a couple of years.
Well, when maybe that's why the ratings have gone down. He's mad at them. He doesn't care to be funny. He's like, I got a contract, and you're going to keep me in here.
So I know Trump is talking about he wants Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers gone now.
Yeah, Trump says that a lot. Fallon, I don't know that Fallon. I mean, Fallon may have made a few jokes, but I don't think that he's really, the day-to-day
political guy. I know.
Political guy. I mean,
nobody takes him. Nobody listens to him in that manner either. He has zero credibility on the political aspect whatsoever.
And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't aware that Seth Meyers still had a show.
Well, not too many people know he has a show. I mean, his ratings are a little better than ours, obviously, but but yeah, he still has a partial show. I mean, it's not very funny. I mean,
Well, when they turn it into political satire, then
see, satire is like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, that's political satire.
Yeah, but the people came to the Daily Show for that.
Yeah.
All right. They don't go to Kimmel for that. They don't go to Seth Meyers for that. They go to those guys for comedy.
I mean, when did all this political stuff? I guess the biggest political start on late night was Arsenio Hall with Bill Clinton playing the saxophone.
I
That's
remember
where
that.
that's opened up the entire Pandora's
Politics.
box
Yeah.
of this mess of mixing politics and late night comedy.
I don't know. I mean, Carson used to do it a little bit too, but you know, his was good natured ribbing. All right,
Yeah.
these guys are mean spirited cheap shots.
I mean, David Letterman hardly ever had any political people on. Hardly ever.
No,
And Johnny
I struggle.
Carson a few times here and there, but he'd always just stick to, you know, where they're eating and where they're drinking and how's their family and where they're vacationing and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, but again, you know, it's just them. You know, it's just not like politically charged jokes. It's just gentle ribbing here and there. Although Dave Letterman clearly has very strong left leaning opinions, which is fine for him. But but I mean, what kind of trash makes those kind of remarks about celebrating the death of someone?
I mean, it's just sick. I mean, I think their memorial service for him, I said they're going to have over 100,000 people. And I will say, I do think this whole Charlie Kirk situation that did happen, as much as is horrible that, you know, it happened, I think it did definitely trigger a revival as sweeping across America. I'm seeing a lot on social media and on, you know, internet and TV, and I mean, people are really, you know, coming to grips a lot more. I mean, his podcast is by far number one now. He is already hovering it near the top of podcasts, but soared to the charts. And I have to admit myself, I was not a big listener because I'm a pretty busy guy of Charlie Kirk's podcast. But after listening to it now, I really have no freaking idea why everybody's angry at him, because all he did, he defended gay people. Everybody said he's gay bashing. He defended the gay people. He defended everybody. He wanted people to think with their brains and not with their emotions. He wanted critical thinking to drive the narrative.
Yeah, you see, what Charlie Kirk defended was them as people.
Exactly.
That people shouldn't mistreat them, and that he could disagree with their lifestyle and still love them as people.
Exactly.
And that's something that the left absolutely does not get and doesn't care to get.
I actually did not know that his faith and that his messaging about, you know, his indoctrination of being a born again Christian. I did not know that was such a big part of his speeches and everything. Because I had never gotten to see him speak. I never had really watched an entire full segment of Charlie Kirk at the time until his passing, and I'm learning a lot about him. And he is a very, very devout Christian, and talked about his faith. I mean, when he was on Bill Maher, on Bill Maher's little podcast, Bill Maher's sitting there drinking whiskey and smoking pot, and asking him if he wants a joint, and he says no, and asking Charlie if he wants a drink, and he says no, and basically he's shocked that Charlie was not judging him for what he was doing.
No, and I don't get that. I mean, I go through periods when I haven't drank before, and people always. I'll tell you, when I go through these periods and stuff like that, and I go out into social situations, and people are, for a while they'd ask me if I wanted something to drink. I had actually for a long time when I was in my 20s, and I really wasn't drinking that much at all.
Right.
I'd go to parties and stuff like that, and I'd have a glass of water in a cocktail glass and just tell people it was vodka, so they'd leave me alone.
Yeah, well, I had to quit drinking after I started trying to lose weight, and I've lost 90 pounds, and
Good for you.
and drinking was a big part of not losing weight.
Mhm.
And so, when I was taking care of my dad as a caretaker, there was a lot of stress, and I kind of took the stress the wrong way. That's one thing I've realized a lot with actually watching a lot of the Charlie Kirk's podcasts. I mean, I've actually had a lot of reawakening for my own personal religious views and everything, and it's been very, very beneficial to me myself, as well. And I'm not saying that him dying is, of course, is not good, but what it did do is it woke up a lot of people. It basically woke up the woke. You know, I mean, all his anti-wokeness and everything else, it really sparked it. And really, I mean, we've been talking about being anti-woke for a long time, ever since we started this podcast here about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But whenever you really start looking at all the different religious aspects, all the different political aspects, and then the logical aspects, and combining all of that together, and that's one thing he always talked about was logic, just using your brain, and it really works.
Well, logic is important, but the most important thing is that you focus on people's actions and not the people themselves.
Exactly.
and
Behavior.
Charlie was amazing at that. That was his superpower. Is
Exactly.
that he would sit there and he can back up everything he said with a reference to a real event. That anyone can go look up. People accused him of saying all sorts of things, but when you go back and look at what he actually said, he either didn't say that, didn't say it that way, or it was the end of something else
Right.
that that they took out of context.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not here to dance on the grave of Jimmy Kimmel, but I am here to dance on the grave of the liberal left finally getting their butt handed to them by, basically running their mouths way too much about hate and all this hate.
No, this is actually something that they brought upon themselves. I'm not. This isn't victim. First off, they'd have to actually be victims because
Oh, they're not.
someone pushing back on their poor word choice is not them being a victim. They're the recipients of consequences.
Right. And actually, I mean, if you actually look at the entire left and you talk about their happiness with violence, it really goes back to the college protests and the Black Lives Matter riots and all the different riots and protests that they have been endorsing and funding and training people for and pushing. And, basically all this college violence out here, it's not the right wing going after students and calling them Nazis and fascists and pigs and all these attacks on the Jewish people. It's not the Republicans doing that. It's the Democrats and the left-wing protesters who are doing that. The Palestinian protesters who are protesting for Gaza's freedom and everything else, while at the same time they don't even know what freedom is or even want the freedom that they say they want, because these people don't know anything about the people in Palestine. They don't know anything about those people. They have all these queers for Palestine, and they don't realize that in Palestine you get killed for being gay. I mean, they're against women. I mean, it's like the Emmy Awards this year. I forgot her name, but she was like talking about free Palestine, and Hamas put her picture on their newspaper, but they had to blur out everything underneath her neck because she's wearing a skimpy dress that was not following the decorum of the Islam religion. And so basically they took her words and they promoted her words, but they were still blurring her outfit because women do not have rights in Islam. Women do not have rights in the Palestinian and Hamas and Hezbollah. They just don't. They're against, they kill gay people. They kill, if you have abortions, they're going to kill you for that. They're going to stone you for that. I mean, they're a very violent culture against people who do not follow their book, period. And there's zero tolerance. They're not going to give. They don't give any. And yet, the same people who are defending all this and promoting all this and championing all this are the same ones who are excited whenever Charlie Kirk dies. And you wonder why. There's no separation.
I don't know. All I know is the political backlash to this. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we've been saying since 2016 that the Democrats were overplaying their hands and that there were going to be consequences if they didn't let up. By God, they have not let up for 10 years.
But you have Barack Obama out there actually help, feed into all this and everything else after he left the presidency in 2016, whenever Trump came in. He's the one that, Barack Obama and all his crew were the ones who were pushing all the censorship against Roseanne or Ann Coulter or Ben Shapiro at the time and everything, and all the political violence. And they haven't let up, I think it started before 16. It probably started at 08 or 09.
To a certain extent. I mean, that was the formative years, but I mean, they... it's hard. It's really hard to wrap your head around. If there was a more efficient way for them to shoot themselves in the foot, I think they would leap at the chance, because they are literally doing every single thing they can to destroy their brand. Like that since 2020, the Democrat registrations have been on a steady decline, and now there were states where where the Democrats largely dominated the registrations. I'm no more.
No,
They're getting those guys down. There are many of them where they're behind Republicans now, and they are getting further and further behind the ones that aren't. It's going to be hard for like we said, have said the whole time and have said continuously for years. It's going to be difficult for the Democrats to dig themselves out of this hole because they'd have to walk back everything they've said over the last 10 years, and they're not willing to do it.
The question,
They've
though,
painted
is,
themselves in a corner.
do they want to dig themselves out of the hole, or do they want to use it just to make money? I mean, that's the whole thing. Is this about greed, or is this about votes?
It's all about greed, but at the end of the day, it's one of those like the dog eating his own tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a while, you get to a butt.
Exactly. I mean, we actually, I was watching Farron Cousins. He's another podcast running a podcast called The Ring of Fire, which is sort of our Mike Papatonio. He was talking about he was going to step away from The Ring of Fire because basically Trump was inciting all this violence by blaming the left-wing people and blaming the left-wing media and left-wing radicals for this horrible killing of Charlie Kirk. And so he is trying to say that the president was inciting that.
Oh,
and
I know.
I was like, come on, guys.
They're trying to blame everyone in the world except for them.
Yeah, whenever anything happens, it's always Trump's fault on the right. Now, whenever anything happens on the left, who do they blame? Trump as well. So basically, it's Trump's fault for both sides. Obviously they're giving Trump the mantle of God because they're saying that he is responsible for everything good and everything bad. Actually, no, let me take it back. He's responsible for everything bad on one side and everything bad on the other side, and there is no responsibility for anything good.
I'm trying to remember who it was. One of the broadcasters the other day was pointing out. Scott Jennings, I think may have been the one, or it might have been someone else. I forget.
No, it was Jennings.
Well, I don't remember if it was him that said this or someone else, but they were talking about the leadership of the Democrat Party, and he said, "Who's leading the Democrat Party right now? Donald Trump is leading the Democrat Party because without him, they have no direction. The only direction they have is being opposed to Donald Trump.
And he's their chief fundraiser. I mean, Democrats, wake up to this. Donald J. Trump is your leading fundraiser. Okay? If without him and without this, all the antics of the right trying to lead the country in the right direction and all y'all's fanaticism here against it, y'all have nothing. I mean, he's leading you guys by the nose. And y'all are taking every single piece of the bait, hook, line, and sinker.
He must be a terrible fundraiser because the Republicans have hundreds of millions of dollars and the Democrat DNC has tens.
Well, that's true, yeah. The DNC ain't raising squat.
No.
But AOC is, and Bernie Sanders is, and all those people.
Good for them. Good for them.
They're not giving anything to the party.
And they're going to lose. And here's why they're going to lose. When you don't play ball with the party don't play ball with you.
Nope.
So all of that ground game and all the infrastructure that the DNC has throughout the country, they will, if AOC and Bernie haven't been contributing, they will not give them a nickel. And they won't.
It's everything that Bill Maher was asking about. Bill Maher was like, talking about all these liberals here who don't want to come on his show because they feel like they're going to be trapped on his show, which is weird. I mean, he voted for these people. He supports these people. They will, only a few Democrats will come to his show. Like, he's trying to get AOC on his show. It took him 5 years to get Obama on his show. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton will go on his show. I mean, a lot of people that he supported will not go on his show because they're just worried about the truth. They're scared of the truth.
Well, they have to. Number one, he has to go, or they have to go on someplace that they know is actually in their corner.
Right.
Not like someone who has voted for them. They want someone that's not even going to challenge them.
Yeah.
Right. So those people that that they do, and largely because those people get paid. So they already know that they are not going to challenge them. It's going to be safe.
Yeah.
But the other thing is they're terrified of being in an environment where they can't walk it back and say, and when they inevitably say something stupid, they can't walk it back and say, "Oh, they took me out of context. They ran this, or they edited it weird, or something like that."
Live.
When it's live and it's there and it's going, when for a fact that they're not going to erase or edit this stuff in a way that when you do something boneheaded, then they're not going to come on your place. And they know that
Right.
Bill Maher is like that. They know that Bill Maher is a friendly guy for them, but they also know that if they screw up, he will not cover for them.
He's intellectually honest, and that's a good.
He
I
is
mean, it's very
intellectually honest.
rare, and it's good. I mean, also another little censorship number everybody forgot is Tucker Carlson, who was the leading ratings guy at Fox News, and he was told to be fired, or they were told to be fired by Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is the one that led the charge to fire Tucker Carlson. And I mean, you know, because of the entire issue here with the 2020 election and all the lawsuits and so on and so forth, and that was their cover, that was their reasoning. The real reason was because he had a lot of ratings challenging them, and they had a huge following, and it was just really getting in the way of the Democrats doing business.
Yep. Oh, that's a sin, brother. That is a sin.
But his ratings were probably higher than Roseanne's and higher than Jimmy Kimmel's. I think he was around like 9 million, 8 million people a night. But now he has a little cushy job at Twitter where they're paying him $20 million a year for Tucker Carlson Network. Yeah, I'm sure Jimmy Kimmel will probably get his own little thing on YouTube or Spotify.
Maybe.
Or, yeah, who knows? He might be valuable on the streaming networks. And Chris Cuomo was saying that, you know, the reason why this is just the way it is that, you know, when you're on a, like we said before, when you're on a publicly airwaves, you have different rules, and it might be right, it might be wrong, but it is what it is. You got to follow the rules.
You got to follow the rules. Let's see.
Tucker Carlson. His show's doing great.
Tucker Carlson consistently pulled in about 3.5 million viewers
a night. On a cable channel. They have to subscribe to pay for to get. That's not free, like Jimmy Kimmel's is.
Well, or like broadcast media.
Exactly. See, for those who are watching this who don't know, the broadcast media is CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox, and PBS. That's it.
The stations that you could conceivably attach an antenna to the back of your TV if it was the right kind of thing, with an adapter and a whatever, and then you could get on. You could be on there.
Correct. And so, I mean, because a lot of people might not know what broadcast is nowadays.
Yeah, I
know my kids don't. My grandkids don't. Like, what's broadcast?
That is some shit.
It is. On a different note here, the feds have dropped the interest rates, quarter point. Go figure. They've been fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. They finally did it.
Well, they were terrified that that by dropping the rate, they were going to make Trump look good. Now they're terrified that by not dropping the rate sooner, they are going to look bad. So now they're desperately trying to get out of that. That's why it was a full quarter of a point. Because you know what they have done in the past, that they've done an eighth of a point.
Yeah. But guess what happened to real estate loans, the mortgage rates? The lowest in 30 years. Lowest in 30 years.
I need that 10-year to go down, because that 10-year Treasury note, when that goes down, then my business goes up.
Yep. Gold went up. Silver went up.
That's interesting.
Because the whole idea here is inflation is not going to happen because of this. And they're all afraid that lowering the interest rate was going to cause the inflation. And
I understand what you're saying, but people typically buy gold and precious metals and stuff like that when they're worried about stocks.
Well, yeah, that's the psychology of it, but who knows?
Well, I understand that's the policy that I've been told my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, when you're worried about the stock market, you buy gold. When you're worried about when the stock market looks great, cash in your gold, buy stocks.
But it's pretty cool when they're all going up at the same time.
Well, that is true. That what that means is liquidity's up.
Yep. It's pretty cool. That's a good thing. It shows that this economy, granted, where I live over here on the east coast of Florida, I would love for prices to come down just a little bit. Maybe at the grocery store, the gas station, a little bit. Actually, the gas station was a little confusing because it was a wonderful $2.77 for 3 days. Then it went to $3.29 6 hours later. Then went back down to $3.19. Then went to $3.40. Then went back to $2.80. All in a period of 4 days. I did not know.
Hey, before we get too far away from it, I do want to point out one thing, to circle back all the way to the beginning of this episode. But as typical with anything that involves a firearm, the left is calling for the banning of assault weapons and stuff like that. And they're using this as an opportunity to ban assault weapons.
There's no assault weapon used.
Which really just reinforces the point that Democrats don't know what an assault weapon is, because this was a design for a bolt action rifle that is at least 70 years old.
Exactly.
And it is no kind of fast.
It belonged to Tyler Robinson's grandfather.
It's a 30-06. The 30-06 was a 30 caliber round that was developed in 1906. Okay, and then the military moved away from it in World War II with the 308, and then they moved away from that in Korea or not in Korea, but in Vietnam with the 223s, the 5.56.
So an assault weapons ban would fix this situation, then, right?
An assault weapons ban wouldn't even start to scratch the surface of what the problem is here. But that's really only because it wouldn't have stopped this kid from getting his grandfather's gun and killing Charlie Kirk.
No, we're not.
But the solutions that what all of these shootings have in common is that the remedies that they propose afterwards would not have stopped the action, the event that they're using to promote the gun control legislation.
Well, actually, and if they actually would pay attention to the text messages that they read from the killer and the shooters and everything else, the only thing that would stop these shootings, and it's a consistent argument we keep saying, is fix the culture. Stop the freaking hate. Stop the hate. Stop the hate. You stop that. You stop just finding reasons to kill people arbitrarily and just randomly. It will go away a lot. But, when you have a culture that hates God, that hates values, that hates family, that hates anything that has to do with, being good, is what you get.
Well, the bottom line is when you normalize hate, you dehumanize people. And when you dehumanize it, you make it just perfectly fine to kill them, because if they're not humans, who cares?
Exactly. They're just in your way.
They're an obstacle.
Yeah, they're an obstacle. As this person said, he wanted to eliminate the hate by killing him. And even his lover was like, what the hell are you doing? Even his gay transitioning lover, roommate, was very confused and very bewildered, and actually turned everything into the cops. He gave them everything.
Immediately.
He didn't cover his lover's butt any whatsoever. He gave everything out.
Because he knew how that'd play out.
Well, he wasn't into killing.
Of course not.
There are not all transvestites are evil people. In fact, a lot of them are actually very good people who are being protected by some. We talked about this earlier in the week. It's kind of like you have this minority class, a minority group of people who are always being protected by some rich elite white people who basically don't really give a damn about any consequences, except for they just want to cover for somebody else because they feel like they have to be the savior. This whole savior complex. And it's not, that's not how the world works, guys,
No. Anyway, well, boy, we have spent an hour on this, and and it's a big subject I know that we're going to be talking about for a while.
It is. And just to let everybody know, we are now on Rumble. We're back on Rumble again. We are on Amazon Music. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter.
Apple
Podcasts. We're on Spotify. And so you should have no trouble finding or linking to us. In fact, y'all are, and we do appreciate that, as we do, accelerate our calling. We are also on a new platform called, it's not new out there. It's called Reddit. And so we're going to start to be on Reddit here.
It's not new about Reddit.
It's a left-wing platform. We're going to see how much hate we can generate against us on the left-wing platform of Reddit.
Well, let's see how long we can stay on that platform without getting kicked off for being racist homophobes.
Well, so right now we're still waiting to be approved. And so
they must not have seen the show.
And we are also on iHeartRadio.
Nice.
And the iHeartRadio app, we're still a new one there, so you might have to wait for a few more segments here to propagate here to find us a lot easier. But if you go to our YouTube channel, we'll have a link on there. And also, if you go to politicalmatrixnews.com, we're going to have all the links on there as far as where you can find us. And we are also going to be we're putting together some memorabilia for Charlie Kirk. And part of the proceeds are going to go to Turning Point USA and to help, them with their conservative causes here of putting, more young people in that mindset. Because I think definitely I can see now it was huge on what he was doing. And it was even bigger than I even knew about. I mean, I had no idea how big they were. And Erica, his wife, who's taking over now, she said, if you thought you were going to silence Charlie then,
Message.
then, it's going to be like a lion on crack.
Oh, I mean, you can already see the exponential increase in Charlie's message.
Yeah, huge.
Anyway, so thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, and join us again next week for more of the Political Matrix News.